Welcome back to Whitt Acres. Today we're going to take a tour of my garden pond waterfall. And if you're new here, welcome to my backyard botanical paradise that I'm creating here so I can live in, work with, and enjoy nature daily. It is the end of September on 2022, and last year, 2021, is whenever I first started digging out the pond. I'm out here in the hot sun picking up stone because I'm about to make a water feature. So we are coming up on 1 year of starting work on the garden pond. So I wanted to go through and give a tour of the waterfall because this might not be the final waterfall, but it's definitely the waterfall that we've been using for a long time, all season long. So I wanted to get some record of it, and there's a lot going on to this waterfall. But I wanted to go through each one of the waterfalls to show all the different styles of drops and just really have a record of how the waterfall's been looking all season long. Plus the garden all around the waterfall has been looking really nice as well. You can just see all the bright color that we still have coming into the fall. We still have some work to do on the pond. We have the beach area to finish, the intake bay edging to do, and a little bit more with the electric work and the piping. But the pond is pretty clear down to the bottom of 4 feet. You can see all the way down. It's not crystal clear because we do have some hair algae in there. And that is because we have a fish population. You can see the nice big bass we have in there. And we have 2 bluegill, another smaller bass that my dad caught. This will end up being a koi pond with a lot of colorful koi and goldfish in here and chubunkin. But I didn't want to put my koi and goldfish in there yet until the pond was up and running to its full capacity. So I went out and caught some wild fish and brought them home, and now we have a natural kind of native pond with bass, bluegill, and catfish. We have fathead minnows, rosy red minnows, and there's a bunch of snails and frogs, and Just a lot of aquatic life coming into the pond. But at the top of the pond, we have the wetland filter, which has not been running. We don't have the piping finished for the wetland and don't even have the pump yet to run it. So the whole pond with all the fish in it has been filtered by my WATERFALL, which is also an upland bog filter in itself, just a smaller version. It was supposed to be a bonus filter, but for right now during the construction, it is the sole running filter on the pond. And it's doing a really good job. You can see the water is clear. Like I said, we have that hair algae problem, but I'm really not worried about it. You can see the little bass and the big bass. They're all real active, always moving around, being pretty healthy. The hair algae is just helping filter the water right now. It's keeping it nice and clean and healthy for the fish. I just pull out some of the more unattractive bunches and keep it relatively maintained so it doesn't take over the whole pond. You can see it's coming down the waterfall, but that's just like it would be in nature as well. So I want a natural looking pond and waterfall, and I think it's turning out pretty well right now. Like I said, the waterfall is an upflow filter, so it has a pipe going into the bottom of a basin at the top. One of the pond basins you can buy at Lowe's is actually sitting right in the top of the waterfall, and I have my piping coming up, snaking through the stone and piped straight through into the bottom. And it's pumping it into the bottom of that tank right there, and then it upflows through layers of gravel and overflows through the waterfall and trickles down. The water then travels downstream and it gets deeper through here past the steps, the cantilever feeding stone, and then it gets to the deepest end about 4 feet deep right here by the pier, and then it goes through past the narrows of the stones and into what is the intake bay, and then we have to finish stoning it in. But the intake bay is where 2 drums sit, and the pump sits down in there, so that sucks all the water into this area and it gets pumped up to the top of the waterfall, adds aeration as well as cleaning the ammonia and nitrates out of the water. And hopefully sometime soon we'll be getting a new pump that will be running all the jets that are coming through on this side. We have jets positioned to keep water flowing downstream and keep it all stirred up so the sediment doesn't fall down in. Echo Pup likes hunting the minnows up here in the stream area, so he's doing that right now. But the water will be pumped into the bottom of this intake bay, and it'll upflow through all the different layers of gravel, adding an immense amount of filtration to the pond, and hopefully plenty of filtration for the amount of fish that I'm going to put in here. It'll then trickle over that log and flow downstream into the waterfall bay and down with the rest of the water as well, trying to keep all the flow pushing that direction so all the sediment and dirt will be collected into the intake bay. Now that you have an understanding of how the pond works, you can see that the waterfall is not supposed to be filtering the entire pond. It is just a small portion of the filtration system that I'm going to finish with. The filtration will be at least tripled whenever I get the intake bay actually running the bog filter, because the intake bay works as one as well as the bog filter. So there's just a lot more filtration that this pond is capable of once we have it running up to full capacity. So now I'm going to take you through, show you all the different waterfalls within the main waterfall itself, and tell you why I put it in there and what function it actually serves. The first thing I want to tell you is we are actually going to have a bigger pump for this waterfall, so it's not at its full capacity yet either. The pump that's running it right now is a 5,000 gallon per hour pump, which will actually be the pump I have on my jets and the filter wetland bay up there. This one I'm going to be getting a, I believe, 5,000 to 8,000 pump. That way we can adjust it and maybe turn it up even higher, more volume than it is right here. First waterfall down here, I wanted a sheet falls, so that's why you can see a little wider ribbon here. I had to add some river stone in there to get it to accumulate enough water to overflow that spot right enough to actually create the small sheet. So once we get more water volume coming through here, I'm hoping to actually get that wider across the front of that stone. But I wanted a lot of different types of waterfalls and splits and turns, so we have that front waterfall trying to be as wide a sheet as possible. And then you can see all the trickling water down below, and I think that just looks gorgeous dropping down on the stone. Right beside it we have a smaller trickle fall. It splits right there. This is actually one stone, and then this dry stone is one stone along here. So it has a really nice edge that the water flows around naturally. So I do want more water volume to come over the top of this stone as well to create that sheet falls appearance across the whole front line with a split in the middle. To the left of the falls, you can see a little secret falls popping out of there. It's actually run a gravity tube that goes in behind the pig and up to the back of the other waterfall up there, and the water just flows into that tube and gravity falls down through the tube and out right there. It's about a 1/2 inch tube, and I just have it buried in behind there, so it creates a nice weeping stone across the little flat falls there. And I just wanted to widen the whole look of the waterfalls so it didn't look like it was all focused right there in the middle, because during a waterfall and a natural look, you'll actually see weeping spots around the sides of the falls, which is what I was really going for, a natural looking waterfall. So the overall form of the waterfall and pond, you can see that the waterfall is set back into the hillside, kind of like the water wore away the soil and exposed all the rocks. That's what happens in nature, and that's what I was going for here. And then the water came down and hit an immovable object, which is just a really large stone of bedrock, which is this large rounded stone here, and it pushed it off around and wore away the rest of the bank as it went through the pond. So with that in mind, that water wears away different surfaces, I used this long stone here because you can see that it has a nice curved edge there, like that water's been dripping on it for years, and it wore away that edge down to a nice rounded off slant. So we have that trickle stone on the right, which is a nice slide falls, which I think is just appealing to the eye to see the water running over real smoothly, creating all the different ripples and the glisten coming off of that one. So I have a nice little trickle coming off, just enough to appear to wear away that stone below, as well as trying to keep the tip of this stone here high enough so it would stay dry as the water broke over either side and washed onto that next stone. So I think it worked out really nice because that stone actually stayed dry like I planned. And a lot of these stones and shelvings for the stones were eyeballed. We did have a transit, but we only checked it here and there every once a week as I was doing all the digging and setting during the week. We'd just check it at the end. So a lot of this was eyeballed, and it actually turned out to work really well, which surprised me. So not everything in the pond is perfect, but some of the things did really turn out without measuring every little detail. So I didn't want the water to just flow straight from the top of the waterfall. I didn't want you just to see where the water's coming from, and I think the plants really did a good job of hiding the top of the waterfall and causing it to look like it's real natural and look like it's always been there. Especially the petunias wrapping around the edging of the stone, and the creeping jenny coming down as well, just really making it look like this has been here a long time instead of brand new. So what I did behind the big large stone, which is a sheet falls, is I put a square stone. This stone actually had a really nice notch out of it already. That's actually the stone on the bottom right there, so it has this perfect little notch that was able to stop the water flow and force it around the side. And then it's worn away here, so it actually trickles over just a little bit, and I think it looks really nice the way it does that. I put this stone in here to stop too much water from going straight over the side falls. I needed more to come right between my feet to create the sheet falls. You can see how much water it's diverting this way. So I might have to do something a little bit more permanent for that, but for right now that's been working. So right now it's really hard to see all the way up the falls, but you can see how we have a gourd just popped right in there, growing right off the vine. That gourd is actually from a volunteer plant that took over this whole entire bank side, the whole back side. I've cut away a lot of this plant already, but that one just positioned beautifully right there in the waterfall, as well as another one is actually up in there. I don't know what kind of damage it's doing or how it's growing in between the stones, because they can wedge themselves between surfaces, but I'll have to get in there and see that real soon. But the waterfall goes up in there and kind of snakes over a couple different surfaces. So if you can tell, it goes up through behind this grass, around that gourd, and through a nice thin channel, wrapping all the way back around to that flat stone up here, which is right where it comes out of the main basin up here at the top. So that one has a lot of character for a sliding stone, and it just rolls right around there gently where the little polar bear is drinking. And that one that's where it comes from. And it's actually starting to rain right now. This waterfall here is one of the ones that we really wanted to have. It is a horsetail falls, which is pretty much just a nice horsetail stream, or nice strong stream hitting a deep pool. causing a nice deep sound. I don't know if you can hear that compared to maybe this one. But I wanted that nice solid deep sound, and I had to dig out a pool area here. That's why it actually sits. I have it banked up with this nice little log that I found in the woods, and weed actually grew out of it, causing nice little nice little blue flowers on it. So I left the weed grow. I just kind of break it back and keep it manageable so it doesn't get too big, but it has nice flowy roots, and that's sucking up nutrients out of the pond. Either way, the waterfall gets nice horsetail falls coming out of there, and I had to bank up all this because right about where that pipe is going in is the bottom of the Lowe's pond tub. And then you saw the top ring, because we don't have it quite finished yet, but the top ring's right there. And then this waterfall I notched into the tub, so that comes out right here in nice strong falls. But I still had room, and I wanted a wide waterfall, so I put this little secret falls in because I wanted to be able to see it from the sitting area patio up there. So it actually creates the waterfall to be a little bit wider, and you can see it from another larger angle, and I think it worked out really well. It comes just around the corner of that stone, so you don't really see it originating, you just see it coming and flowing right over the wood and the rock. And I just think it turned out really well the way it breaks up the water. And then this one's a nice even stream, good contrast there dropping into this pool. And I have this nice little island stone that my dad got me from one of their RV trips. I also have this center tongue stone here, and what I have is a couple tubes right there. You can just see them, and they're pushing out a little bit of water, as well as another tube flowing water out right there. Some gravity flow tubes, so there's not a pump on those, they're just routed through the rock so they can collect the water, and they just add a nice wet look to this stone. I think it just gives a lot more dimension to the waterfall here, like the water wore away everything and exposed the stone, wore away all the soil underneath it, and it's just sitting in there. So the water does come out of those pipes across that stone. It just weeps around. I don't have as much flow going through those pipes right now. It might be because of that hair algae, so this stone would be dripping even on this side too. Be dripping all over the edges, but for right now it's kind of slow. I might have to blow the algae out of those pipes, but I think it still works really well. All right, it's actually starting to rain and get everything wet, including my phone and camera. The last little waterfall we have right now is the weeping log. So I have another gravity hose up where that gourd's growing in the vine. Actually, that might be clogging my pipe a little bit, come to think of it. But that gourd has a pipe right behind it buried in the stone, and it is routed back through the garden here. And then I drilled a large hole up through this log and stuffed the pipe in. So the water just kind of comes out of nowhere. You can't really see the pipe in there, and it just trickles down, keeping the mouth of this log that I found up in the woods at my brother's house, which all this wood came from either my property here or my brother's house, so it's all reclaimed and it all looks really nice. So the water comes in and actually creates a little waterfall here, and then another one right here, but it's all clogged up with hair algae right now. But I think it adds to the natural look of the waterfall, helps spread out the whole mound, so you have water coming out of a lot more. So from here all the way to here, water's pouring out. Is it raining, Pop? You're getting your ears wet, buddy. All right, that's all I have for you today in this video. That is not all the waterfalls that's going to be on this pond, but there's still more to come, but that is all we've been working with this season. So I wanted to get the capture of the pond and the way it is right now during the season, and that's just too much to go through in one of the garden tours. This video is already getting pretty long, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. And if you want to see more of the aquatic life here and the gardens and the animals we have up in the barn, then hit the subscribe button down below and you can follow along with me and Echo. You can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching. Oh, the plants are looking beautiful as well. The Vista petunias, the creeping jenny, the lemongrass, the banana tree, the elephant ear, the hibiscus. We have cow lily greens in there, as well as the gourd wrapping around everything, the birdhouse gourd. And it's just looking very beautiful with the zinnias, the pumpkins, the portulaca, the buddleia, the amaranth, the impatiens, the dahlias, the coxcomb, and the chard.